This is problem number 1 from section 7.5. It asks you to evaluate the expressions a and b and compare their values. Now I want you to keep in mind that this section 7.5 deals with the double angle formulas and the half angle formulas. And so what they're doing here is they're wanting you to compare the values between sine 90 plus sine 90 and sine 180, which is double the angle of 90. So they're kind of trying to prove to you right now that these two things are not actually equal. Sine 90 plus sine 90 is not equal to sine 180. Well, let's take a look. For part A, we know that sine 90 plus sine 90 equals, we pull out a unit circle, we can go to 90 degrees. We know sine is 1, so that's 1 plus 1, which is 2. All right, so we know part A, sine 90 plus sine 90 is 2. For part B, what is sine of 180? Well, we know sine of 180 is, if we go 180 degrees, sine is 0. So sine of 180 would be 0. So then they're going to ask you, well, are these two things equal? So no, they are not equal. Aren't equal. So they're not equal. And the reason they're not equal, and it kind of makes sense, if you have sine 90 plus sine 90, although you might think of it as being sine 180, it's definitely not sine 180 because we can't even add the angles together in these two sine problems. We can't represent this as sine 180, and we've talked about that before. Now, for the double angle formula, let's take a look at some of these double angle formulas. So sine, here are the double angle formulas, and this is what they want to prove to you basically. We're using sine, and sine of 2 theta is equal to 2 sine theta cosine theta. Well, let's take a look at this. So if we use sine 90, so we're going to use 90 degrees, so we're going to use sine of 2 times 90 degrees. That's supposed to equal 2 sine 90, right? Because we use theta, right? Cosine 90. So this is where this whole double angle formula is coming from. Well, if you take sine 90 and cosine 90, we know sine 90 would be 1. So sine 90 is 1. So we get 2 times 1. And then cosine 90 we know is 0. So 2 times 1 times 0 is 0. So when you double the angle for 90 degrees, you're not going to get 2. You're going to get 0, which corresponds with sine of 180. So I hope that makes sense. The sine of 180 is the same as sine of 2 times 90, and then we can use our double angle formula to evaluate essentially sine of 180, but using that 90 degrees. So you can see these two things are the same, but sine 90 plus sine 90 is definitely not sine 180. And I think that's a big misconception that students think, is that sine 90 plus sine 90, I can just add the degrees together and write sine 180, and that's definitely not true.